Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. This is Transfer Talk. How are you all doing? This is the last one of the window, and God, I hope we sign someone before between this going out and Thursday when deadline day is here. We've got a few to talk about today, but look at the list. It's shrinking, isn't it? The rumoured ins and the rumoured outs is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every single week. Now, does that mean that there's probably some truth to these? I think it probably does. Does it mean that we're going to see them happen? I don't know, man. I think we could end up running out of time. I think there's also a very real chance that we see an absolute flurry of activity on deadline day. So the first one that we are going to talk about today then is, as per the title, everybody has got giddy about Mina coming and having seemingly been priced out of the moves for the likes of Alderweireld and Harry Maguire. It looks like United are reportedly turning their interest into Barcelona's Mina. Mina made a couple of high-profile mistakes in La Liga last season, and it looks like, on paper, a bit of a panic buy. But he did have a good World Cup aside. Bringing in Mina could represent some good business from United. He's around 30 million is what they're rumoured to be asking for him, which is as good a value as you're going to get in this transfer window at the current time. Barcelona have to get rid of some of their non-EU players, which is why he's going to be going out as a reduced fee. He's definitely an upgrade on the likes of Smalling and Jones, and probably Rojo, who does look like he's going to be on his way as well. So I don't think it's a bad signing for Manchester United. I think it's just a little bit more underwhelming when he was probably on our list, on our shortlist, but I certainly don't think he was at the top of it. I think Toby Alderweireld was at the top of it. I think Toby Alderweireld, judging by what's come out today in the papers and stuff like that, where Spurs are saying we'll be happy to sell him if we get a price, I think United are now playing poker. Because he can go for a stupidly, basically free next summer for 25 million. And for Alderweireld, I think Alderweireld is probably, on paper at least, the best centre-half in the Premier League. So his fee at the moment is, let's assume it's the 75 million that we keep seeing rumoured in the papers. United know we've got a week. If we've been talking to him and he wants us and we want him, I believe that the arrangements over his contract, the arrangements over what he's going to get paid are probably already written down. They're probably already penciled in somewhere. We kind of know that we can make a deal there because he wants it and we want it. The problem is Spurs. So I think what United are doing now is, this is the Spurs price and we're going, how about that much? No? How about that much? No? How about that much? How about that much? How about that much? I reckon it gets to Tuesday or Wednesday and United go, bollocks, pay it. I think that's very likely what you're going to see happen with United and Alderweireld over the next week. It's also what I hope happens. So I don't know if I'm letting my heart rule my head a little bit here, thinking that, do you know what, we will get it in. This is Manchester United. We will get what we need done to a certain extent. I do not think we're going to sign all of our targets. I certainly don't feel like we're going to be signing a left back at the moment, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get another one over the line. But if we don't sign Alderweireld, then there's still the talk about Harry Maguire. Now, he's definitely another man that was on the shortlist. And look, Harry Maguire, his stock went absolutely through the roof on the back. If United have been long-term planning to get this guy, if he's been a target for a long while, then we messed up by not doing this before the World Cup. Because 85 million, more than what you're looking at for Alderweireld, I don't think represents good value. I think that represents United getting absolutely stitched up by the transfer market. He's not an average player, and he's not someone that's just had a good World Cup. I think you can completely write those opinions off. He's a very, very good footballer. I just don't think he's quite at the same level of experience that Alderweireld's got. Now, if United did bring him in, I think that at least shows a little bit of intent, but it feels like we've overpaid for him big time. And now you overpay because he's English for starters, but also I think you're overpaying on the back of a decent World Cup. Now, there was another report which came out this week as well, which, when you realise that we've signed Fred, you have to look at the potentials of what's going on. Now, I still believe that there is a chance that Paul Pogba will leave. I think it's more on the unlikely than likely. As I was saying the other week, I was told there's an 80% chance. It's not my opinion. I personally don't believe that the board can allow Marshall and Pogba to go in the same window. I don't think that can happen. And obviously, with time running out in the window, United would obviously like to replace him. Otherwise, there will be carnage. You think there's carnage now when nothing bad's really happened? There'll be absolute carnage if Pogba was allowed to go. We keep hold of Fellaini and we don't sign a replacement. It would be bad. That first game against Leicester a week on Friday, the atmosphere would be horrific. So Kovacic is a player that United have been linked to this week. Now, according to reports, he's turned down a move to Manchester United because he doesn't want to play under Jose Mourinho. That could set a really bad precedent. Now, what if that's happening with all of our targets? It's very simple to say the Glazers aren't backing them, and you won't see me fighting their corner for starters. But it's very, very, very simple to say that the Glazers aren't backing Jose Mourinho. History proves that they kind of are, but we don't know what the constraints are on him this summer. What if players just don't want to come? What if that's a very real factor in what's happening this summer? What if we're going down Mina route because he's a player that's open to coming to us, and all of the rest of it, apart from obviously the fact that Alderweireld does want to come? Now, it's weird, this one, because Kovacic, if he came to Manchester United, you think he's probably going to play more than he did with the current situation. He's trying to get in front of Kroos and Modric at Real Madrid, which, let's be honest with yourselves, is not going to happen. But he's an excellent player. I honestly think he'd make a massive impact at United. Is it agent talk by coming out and saying that he's turned down Manchester United? Is he looking somewhere else? Or is he looking and thinking, do you know what, maybe if I did come to Manchester United, I'd be in a similar, if not the same boat, trying to have to get past Matic and Pogba and Fred? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to come to the comments as well in a second and see what the crack is. Maradona Falele says, Eric Abadal says, United have denied approaching United for Pogba. You got to look at the words there. They denied approaching United. Does that mean that they've not spoken to Raiola? You also got to remember that a lot of denials are just lies, aren't they? And a lot of the time, these things are in the making, and they're not going to tell you the truth because they don't owe you the truth. Right, let's look at it out. Paul Pogba. So as we're saying, Barcelona sporting director Eric Abidal has come out and denied the rumours that he met with Paul Pogba to discuss a move to the Nou Camp. However, Spanish outlets are reporting that Pogba is seen by the Barcelona hierarchy as the reinforcement that their midfield needs after the departures of Iniesta and Paulinho. This was the one that I was told potentially a while back, but you have to worry about what it means for United. United, honestly, cannot take, at this current stage, a player like Pogba leaving in his peak. This is different to when Cristiano Ronaldo left, because Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge of a calm ship on calm waters, and he had the backing of the board and everything else in place to be able to allow Manchester United to let Ronaldo go and still go on and have success. We won the league that season. We got to the Champions League final the following season. This isn't something that United could stomach, I don't think, at the moment. With the current mood around the club, if Paul Pogba was allowed to leave, I think Manchester United will struggle to recover from it big time. All this talk about how he plays different for France is just wrong. How he was better at Juventus is just wrong. I'm assuming that you only watched the Vine clips of him scoring worldies and just was like, well, I'm sure he was amazing. Paul Pogba has improved as a footballer since he's been at Manchester United. And if it wasn't for the injuries last year, he would have been a phenomenal player for us last season. The hate on Pogba and the hate on Manchester United and the hate on Mourinho is clouding everybody's judgment about what a good player he is and he has been. So, I don't know what's going on with Paul Pogba. I think that the rift between him and Mourinho is real. What that means, does it mean that the club will sell him? I don't know. Does it mean that Mourinho wants to sell him? I don't know. All I know is I was told that there's an 80% chance that Paul Pogba can go so long as someone meets the asking price for him. I assume United would want to get a replacement in and couldn't just allow him to walk out the door. And I just hope he doesn't go. Damian. So, Damian's agents just told Sport Italia that it's most likely he's not going to leave United and that he'll stay here. You'd assume that United had just been unable to reach an agreement with any of the clubs about a fee, because Damian's been pimped around most of Europe, hasn't he? He's been talking to AC Milan. There was talk of him talking to Juventus. Napoli have been the latest one. And you just think, what's going on here? Like, are we looking at the wages of Manchester United players being difficult for them to get off our books? Is that a problem that we've got with the Deadwood? You guys let us know in the comments. What do you think is going on with us not being able to get players off the books? Because we know that Daley Blind's move to his boyhood club of Ajax was held up because he wanted English wages, is what the Telegraph over in Holland was saying. Now, is this the issue that Manchester United deal with when trying to sell players? Is this the issue that we're going to see with the likes of Luke Shaw not wanting to go to Everton, or even perhaps Marcus Rojo. So Rojo is reportedly wanted by Wolves and Everton. Everton look like the favourites to land him. The fee is going to be around about 33 million, which is good business, I think, from United if they manage to get that sort of money. If we're going to sell Rojo and bring in Mina for virtually the same amount, I would say that's a smart move, would you? It's not the most ambitious move from United, and it's certainly not the sort of steps forward that you'd like to see the club taking. But Sports Witness are also reporting that Rojo wants an improvement on what he currently earns at United. And you just think, is that something that Everton could realistically offer? He's on 80 grand a week at Manchester United. Is someone like Everton going to be able to push it up for 100 for somebody like Rojo? That's what you guys are saying. Will someone put Darmian out of my misery? Arthur says Darmian is crap, honestly, but then again we have nobody to fill that spot. I think the injury issue might be an issue for us in terms of getting rid of Darmian as well. Mohammed says bullshit. Savic is not in the same level as Pogba. Just replying to someone in the live comments. No, I don't think he is on the same level, but he might be someone that you could replace him with if he's going to do more of what Jose's looking for potentially. Ronald says players are earning better wages at United. That's why they don't want to leave. Ant says we could do with that bastard Peter Kenyon back. At least he gets transfers over the line. Didn't get Ronaldinho over the line, did it? But we did end up signing some kid from Portugal called Ronaldo instead. So maybe that's a different one for a different day. Bajato says Kovacic isn't interested in a move to United, the biggest club in the world. What does that tell you? This season will get scary. I think it's worrying, mate, to be honest. I do think it's worrying. When you've got players like Kovacic that aren't even starting, no matter where you are, if you're not starting and Manchester United come calling, at least in your head you think United should be able to get that over the line, surely. So when we don't get things like that over the line, I do worry, I have to admit. JJ says Mina is dirty and will give away plenty of penalties and get red cards. Perhaps we need a little bit of aggression in us like that. Jack says would be insanity to sell our most valuable player in Pogba. Let's look at it from a different... Let's just play devil's advocate for a second and let's just say, right, if Paul Pogba is going to get sold because him and Mourinho have had a falling out and they can't resolve it, his stock is not going to be higher than when he's on the back of winning the World Cup. And at the current age he is, with the length of time that he's got left on his contract, you're going to get the most in terms of money out of Paul Pogba if you sold him this summer. So is it a financial decision that we sell him and we buy somebody? Because if you sell him for 150, 160 million, which, considering what Barcelona paid for Coutinho, that's got to be the market price of what Paul Pogba's going for. If you do get rid of Paul Pogba and you bring in one, perhaps two players, and you can then play the system that Jose Mourinho wants to play, potentially, you'd have to go, I don't agree with it, but let's see how it goes. I still think that United definitely need to be looking in certain areas, though. And fullback is one. We're not seeing anyone linked at the moment, and I definitely think we should be seeing somebody linked, because I don't trust Luke Shaw, regardless of what he's coming out and saying in the press. It's a bit too little too late for me. And Ashley Young is just quite simply not good enough. United should not be looking to failed wingers to take us forward. Simple as that. How's Smalling still here? I think Smalling's another one that's been offered around, and United just can't get rid of, I think. Quite worried, says Jamie, that players don't want to play for Mourinho, because there's also players that don't want to play for Pep. What? I'm quite worried. I'm not quite worried for players that don't want to play. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, it might just be a pure personal thing on Kovacic like that, but it sets a bad precedent, doesn't it? Pogba's not going anywhere. That is pure facts. You can't say that, can you? Would rather get Zidane than Pogba leave because of Jose. Now, the Zidane thing is very interesting. There's a lot of people mentioning Zidane in the comments here right now. The Zidane link came up back in March. So those are in my Patreon group. We was discussing this back in March, that the board are interested in Zidane. Now, at the time, obviously, Zidane was still in the middle of a Champions League campaign, which obviously they went on to win. Still seemed to be all quite content at Real Madrid. And obviously, United still got Jose Mourinho. So for that one to come up and then for him to be out of a job, you go, you don't know? I think there could be something in that. A lot of people in the comments there, Ollie says Eddie's penny pinching, and Blame the Pickle says Howson, it's Woodward. He sets these players on high wages, so it's hard to sell. I think it's not just Woodward. I think United just pay well. that's kind of what United do. So I think it's not just Woodward. I think because that United pay well, other players come in on parity. You can't sign one centre-half and have him on 100, 150k a week and then sign another on 20. He's going to be like, well, he's on that. Unfortunately, it's the catch-22 situation. You want to put someone on good wages, everybody else's wages needs to go up at the same time. And that's why they've spiralled out of control the way they have. I don't necessarily think it's Woodward's fault. I think it's the game's fault. But United are also traditionally high-paced, and it's not just what United pay. You've got to also factor in that players earn more money by being at Manchester United from the likes of Adidas or Nike or any of their third-party sponsors that they've got. So it's not just about what United pay them in their basic. They earn more by being a United player from other people as well. That's hard to replicate if you then move to, say, Everton. Fudgy says, if we go from being linked to Alderweireld to a B-Tech Bay in Mina, I'm done. Mourinho is the problem, says Urtej. Berserk says, Jardim 2020, please. And then right underneath it, I would like Jardim, but it probably won't happen. Alderweireld and Rose in, Rojo and Shaw out, says Wayne. Now that, at least on paper, is an upgrade, isn't it? And that's what I don't see with a lot of what we're doing at the moment. Like, I don't think even if he was interested in coming Kovacic in and Pogba out, I don't think is an upgrade. Pogba out and Fellaini in is not an upgrade, in my opinion. Stinger says, there's a very similar vibe to Zidane taking over from Mourinho as there was Mourinho taking over from Van Gaal. Yes, I would agree on that. And about 2 months after Mourinho was sacked was when we started to hear, it was about January, February time before the end of the season. But I'm not sure I see Jose going in the middle of the season unless he does something nuts. It's not a United way of doing it, but I don't know at the moment because there's not a good vibe. The club might act on the back of what's going on with a lot of the vibe. We see how the season goes, to be honest. Blame the Pickle says, I just hope Mourinho gets his players, even if it's someone like Willian, who I know lots of United fans hate. I'd like to see how he does with his players. I completely agree with you there, mate. I want Mourinho to be happy. Now, I'm not going to be happy if he gets rid of Marshall, he gets rid of Pogba, and we keep Fellaini and we sign someone in that sort of mould. But I want Mourinho to be happy because then there's no excuse. Like, a lot of people said, oh, David Moyes was wrong to get rid of Rennie Mullenstein and bring in Steve Round and Jimmy Lumsden and all them guys. And I think he was. I think Rennie Mullenstein's a phenomenal coach that would have done bits for United if he was able to be kept around. But you've got to find out what you're dealing with. You need to know what the truth is and remove all of the bullshit. Because if Rennie Mullenstein had stuck around and United had been successful, you might have been lulled into the false sense of security that Moyes actually knew what he was doing, which wasn't the case. So I think it would have been interesting to see Jose Mourinho get his team, and then we can judge him. I want to see him in a press conference where he goes, I've got all the players I want, we're having it this season. And then you go, let's have it then. And if you come fifth, you go, well, you're not the man for the job then, are you? That's what I want to do. I want to see him get the players that he wants, and I want to see him do what he can do with the players that he wanted in the first place, not with somebody else's ones. Stinger says it's not the United way of doing it, but it's a very Mourinho way of doing it. Also, if we're saying Spurs players are an upgrade yet they finish below us, what does that say for Poch? Yes, I think Spurs starting 11 is better than United's, and I can't believe Poch isn't getting any abuse, to be honest. Andy says, Jose bores the hell out of me, but replacing him would be a big mistake. Think Jose will only realise how much Pogba is needed when Pogba gets sold. I also have that issue as well. I don't know what's going on up there. I also have the issue as well with people just saying, get rid of Jose Mourinho. Because there's not an obvious, Zidane's a bit more of an obvious thing, but could you see Zidane being as successful? Now, Zidane was pretty off the pace in the league. Obviously, he's won 3 back-to-back Champions Leagues, and that's going to go down in history and probably not going to be repeated. But he was pretty off the pace in the league, and he had that midfield. Casemiro, Kroos, Modric, Kovacic as a backup, Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema. We do not have a starting 11 that comes anywhere near that Real Madrid team, and he couldn't win the league in Spain with it. So what makes you think that he's going to be able to come into Manchester United and with Fellaini and Ashley Young, find a system that's going to work to get the best out of them and overtake what Pep Guardiola is doing with Manchester City. Because I don't think he's able to do it. I think United have got to piss with the cock that we've got, and we've got to probably try and shithouse our way in the big games and steamroller the smaller teams, which to an extent we did last season. Sidedown says, do you see the negativity towards the club is a manager issue or the board on the whole? I think it's a media issue because this negativity was there with Louis van Gaal. Do you remember in the first couple of weeks of Louis van Gaal's reign, he let Danny Welbeck go and he brought in Falcao, and everyone said United have turned their back on their traditions. And then Louis van Gaal gave more debuts out in the 2 years he was here than Fergie did in like his last 6 or 7. This is a media thing. I think there was kind of a little bit kinder to David Moyes, probably because they pitted him more than anything else. But under Jose and under Louis van Gaal, it's been atrocious, and I think they need to get back to banning journalists when they talk utter bollocks. Fair point. Is Mourinho nothing without Faria? I'm not sure Mourinho knows the answer for it, or maybe it was Faria holding Mourinho back. We're not going to know until we see a good few months of this season where we see what McKenna and Michael Carrick can offer. I was excited for what they could bring, to be honest, but it's going to take them a good couple of months working with the players to make any kind of difference. But I am really intrigued to see, one, how much authority that they have and how much of an impact that they're able to allow on the team. Jonathan, Zidane inherited one of the best teams we have seen, but Rafa Benitez was struggling with them, and he transformed that. So you've got to give Zidane credit for that. And you've got to give him credit for winning 3 back-to-back Champions Leagues. I don't care how lucky you think someone is, you're not doing that on luck. The whole negativity nonsense is spread. Yeah, you're right, mate. Why Yerry Mina deal is closed? What's wrong? I don't understand that, mate. Sorry. If Zidane comes in, then it's bye to young Fellaini and Smalling for sure. I'd be okay with that. Personally, says Day. Ronald says the club will let Mourinho finish his contract because United need to pay out too much money. Well, that was really short-sighted from everybody involved, wasn't it, if that's the case, because we only let him sign a new contract in January. So I think he's here till 2020, so that's another 2 seasons that we've got of him at least. What's all the serious news about? I missed it all, sorry. We'll recap the ins, and basically all the reports out there are saying that Yerry Mina is close to a Manchester United deal. I think he was probably on the shortlist, but I think he was way down on the shortlist for what we was looking for. He had a pretty good World Cup, but I don't think he represents a panic buy. I think if you get him for the 30 million that's been rumoured, then I think that's a pretty good deal from United's point of view. Another centre-half that has been linked is Harry Maguire. Certainly, again, not a panic buy on the back of a World Cup thing, probably a long-term target, but if he was, we should have acted before the World Cup, because £85 million for him is crazy. The other one that I think could happen, and I'm hopeful happens before the end of the window next week, is Toby Alderweireld. I think if United get him, that's a real upgrade on what we've currently got. I'd be very interested to see how he does alongside Bailly or Lindelof. Or even as part of a back three alongside both of those. That would be very interesting. But I still think that we need to upgrade a full-back position. Unless Luke Shaw's going to be given the opportunity to win that place and make it his, I just don't have the faith in Luke Shaw at the moment. Blended Pickle says, I believe there is no other manager in the world that can handle pressure and deliver as well as Mourinho. There's a reason why the past 2 managers have failed miserably. Let's get some truth out here, right? Jose Mourinho has improved Manchester United. As boring as some of those games have been, that is a tangible, inarguable fact. Jose Mourinho has made Manchester United better. We scored more goals, we've accrued more points, we've finished the highest that we've finished in a season. He's made Manchester United better. Now, he's not done it in a way that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. I will completely agree on that, but you cannot deny that he's made us a little bit better. So all of the people that are like, you've got to sack him, the board are not going to sack the most successful post-Fergie manager because fans just don't like the way he plays football sometimes. Results business, that's what they're going to go for. Alex Tellers is someone we should look at. You're not wrong, my friend. Which centre-back do I think is coming, says Sammy. I hope it's Alderweireld. Jim says, come back to Dublin, lad, for some football, rugby or GAA. I'd love to. Why didn't we go for Koulibaly? I don't know. You can't ask questions like that, mate, because who the hell's going to know? Probably because he wasn't wanted, or maybe someone spoke to his agent and he didn't fancy it. Dex says, in my opinion, left back, right back, and a winger should be a higher priority than centre back. I think a left back and a centre half. I don't even necessarily think we need a winger. I think Jesse Lingard's done enough to be given that wide forward role. Now, he's not an out and out winger, but I think he could do that role really well. Mike says, Mourinho football is edge of the seat stuffing compared to Van Gaal, let's be real. Do I think Pereira can play a role this season, says Mo Venom. I think Pereira's a really versatile player that if he was played in that wide right side role, I don't think he'd do terrible. He's got an excellent cross on him. We didn't see it so much at Valencia, but we saw it when he was at Granada. He has got a real good cross on him. He can also play anywhere in midfield, to be honest, even though he played most of his time as a left forward or as a number 10 when he was coming through at United. I don't think you'd expect him to start week in, week out, but maybe that's someone that could roll alongside Jesse Lingard and we could get some product on that right-hand side. I don't think it's as dire as the need for a left-back, I really don't. Am I surprised we haven't signed a left-back considering Shaw's pre-season performance? Yeah. Christopher says, 38 years watching United and it's garbage currently. It's not the worst it's been though, is it? I think when Jose Mourinho came and those 2005, 2006 Chelsea teams, I honestly thought we're going to struggle. I thought that team was going to go on dominate for absolute years and years and years to come. But it didn't happen, did it? People saying that we don't need a centre-back don't know Mourinho. He needs a solid defensive setup with all his teams happy to be successful. I think we also need someone that can move the ball forward in midfield a little bit quicker. And I think that's what helps with decent fullbacks that aren't afraid to go forward. I think that's the thing that would massively upgrade what we do. We struggle getting the ball from back to front really quick. And because we struggle getting the ball from back to front really quick, it enables the team to get set up defensively. We can't break with the sort of speed that a Real Madrid do, for example, because the players that they've got are very direct looking players. That's my major gripe with having Ashley Young as a left back, because he's right footed and because I don't trust his passing ability. When United are looking to break and it goes to Ashley Young, he's got to check in onto his right foot or he's going to pass it back to the centre half. And those couple of seconds while he's doing that enable the defence to get set. If we had, let's just play fantasy football for a second, if we had Marcelo on the left, the ball goes to Marcelo during the middle of a break, he's going to carry it himself or he's going to play a ball down the line for somebody else. That's when you can look to break quickly. I think we could also level up everybody in the team in terms of that, to be honest. I think there's a lot of players that play a little bit too slow and a little bit too safe. Is that Jose Mourinho? I don't know. Is that something that Michael Carrick can help with? Or Kieran McKenna can help with? I certainly hope so. Pogba can move the ball from back to front. Yes, he can, but he can't do it on his own. All the media negativity around United is started by Scholes and the class of '92 during the Van Gaal era. I disagree with that, mate. I think as soon as Fergie was gone, the media couldn't wait to start writing stuff. No, they was writing it on their own behalf. They're obviously using stuff like Scholes and Giggs and that are saying in the media, but there was also takedown pieces completely independent of what was going on there. We need a player like Kevin De Bruyne and Iniesta. We have him, and he's called Paul Pogba. You just need to trust him a little bit. Why have football on a shelf? It's a signed United ball. There's not pumped it up. It's old. Do I think McTominay will play as much as last season? How much did he play last season? Probably, yeah. I think he probably will do. Do I want Tony to stay? I do. I just don't think he will, to be honest. Man says, do you think the board feel they may sack Jose before January and so are not backing him? If there's stuff like what's coming out with Kovacic, I don't think it's necessarily that they're not backing him. Although the Alderweireld stuff sort of flies in the face of that a little bit. I don't know. If they're planning to sack him in January, why won't you sack him now? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you sack him now if you're planning on sacking him in January? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Have I met Ronaldo? I've met neither of the Ronaldos. Everything is not as bad as it seems, says Iana. Do you know what? I think you're probably right. I think everyone's having a massive flap because it's the start of the season and people get massively giddy over transfers. But if we keep a couple of the younger lads that have come through, like if Timbo's given an opportunity, if Fosu Mensah, Tuanzebe, Pereira, those lads are retained and given, rotation minutes. I'm not saying start the guys. If they're given a decent amount of minutes, then I think that'd be a bonus for us. So that's the one. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there, but thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you are new around here. We've got loads of really good content coming out, and I've got a very, very, very special guest coming on Monday. Manchester United's head of performance, Tony Strudwick, is now working at Wales with Ryan Giggs. He's joining me on the warm down. It's going to be live at 3 o'clock on Monday, so you can come and ask questions of Tony, find out what's meant to be happening in a pre-season, the very specifics of all that lot. Tony was at United from 2007. He's been at United since 2007, and we won quite a lot of stuff since he's been there, so it's going to be some real good insight. So make sure to set your alarms for that one and come and join us Monday 3 p.m. UK time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, subscribe and give it a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Welcome to the Stephen Howson Football Channel. This is where I will take you through everything that I do revolving around football, be it that at Old Trafford or elsewhere. This is where you will get your match previews, your reviews, your football vlogs, your scout reports, your transfer talk, your youth reviews, your documentaries, and anything and everything revolving around football. I absolutely love this game. Do me a favour and subscribe. Thank you for watching.